Okay, everybody, we are working through the trig review for the Math 31 course, and I'm on question 2D. Now, this is a great problem here because you could jump into this and just start taking the derivative using the quotient rule, and that'll work just fine here. But you could also simplify this by using identities first. Okay, it'll make taking the derivative a little bit easier at the end here. This is the cosine of x over 1 over the cosine of x minus sine of x over the cosine of x. I've got common denominator down there, so this becomes cosine of x over 1 minus the sine of x over the cosine of x. Okay, so I just wrote them in terms of their primary trig functions. Notice that the denominators were the same, so I put those together. I've got a cosine divided by a fraction, which means I can multiply by the reciprocal, and this will become the cosine squared of 1 minus the sine of x. Now, I see a 1 minus sine of x, I see a cosine squared in the numerator. Well, I know that cosine squared is going to be 1 minus the sine squared of x over 1 minus the sine of x. Now, those don't cancel. But I know that 1 minus the sine of x squared is a difference of squares, so 1 minus the sine of x times 1 plus the sine of x all over 1 minus the sine of x. Those are going to go away. 1 minus the sine of x divided by 1 minus the sine of x is 1. And so I'm left with 1 plus the sine of x. So y equals 1 plus the sine of x. Therefore, the derivative of 1 is 0. The derivative of the sine of x is the cosine of x. That's the final answer. I think it's a little bit easier to work with the identities first and to take the derivative later than it would be to try to apply the quotient rule to the original function.